Hey everybody. Okay, in lesson 2 here, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss dominant 7th chord. So I'm going to show you how to form a dominant 7th chord, and then we're going to take a look at a couple of different alterations. We're going to take a look at the dominant 7th with the flat 5 and the dominant 7th with the sharp 5. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've already watched lesson 1. If you have not watched lesson 1, click on the link below, and that'll take you back to lesson 1, and you can review. So I want to just keep moving forward from here. We're going to continue to play the chords going through the cycle of fourths. Okay? So let's go ahead and dive right in. So our first chord is going to be this right here, key of C, by the way. Okay, so this is going to be my C dominant 7th chord in root position. And again, we have the 1, 3, 5. And what's going to happen here for our major 7th chord, like we had in lesson 1 right here, we're going to take the 7th and we're going to flat it. All right? So our notes are going to be C, E, G, B flat. Or if we use the chord numbers, we have the root, which is also number 1, 3, 5, and then we have flat 7. Okay? And what I'm doing here is I'm starting on middle C in the right hand. Okay? If you want, you can play with your left hand down here too. All right? So that's our first chord, the C dominant 7th chord. Now, let's go to the key of F. So in the key of F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. We're going to take 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay? So again, the dominant 7th chord, if you look at it, we have a major triad, which is 1, 3, and 5, and then we add the flat 7 on top. All right? So that's my F dominant 7th chord. Next key, B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So in the key of B flat, we take that 7th and we flat it, and we have 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So our B flat dominant 7th chord, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Next key of E flat. Play our scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to flat the 7. So 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay? Now, before we go to A flat, let me just let you know that we learned in the last lesson, lesson number 1, we learned professional chord voicing. So what we're going to do here a little bit later on in this video is I'm going to show you how to play all these chords using that same voicing. Okay, but for right now, we'll just go ahead and run through everything in root position. All right, so E flat was there. So now let's go to A flat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in A flat, we flat that 7. So our chord, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay. Key of D flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're back at 1. Right? So in D flat, the 7 is here. We got to flat it. So our notes, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, so that's going to be our D flat 7 chord. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the key of G flat. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we have 1 again. All right, so key of G flat, this is our 7. We got to flat it. So our notes are 1, 3, 5, flat 7. All right. Next key of B. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And remember in the key of B, like the other keys, we're going to take the 7, flat it. All right, so we got 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Next key of E major. I think what I'll do is I'll start below middle C here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take that 7, flat it. So root 3, 5, flat 7. Next key, key of A major. 1, 3, 5. This is the major 7th here. We got to flat it. Next up, key of D major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Flat the 7. So we have root 3, 5, flat 7. That's my D dominant 7th chord. And then we have one more key, and that's the key of G major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're back at the root. So we take the 7th and we flat it. So we have root 3, 5, flat 7. Okay, so that's my G dominant 7th chord. Now, as I mentioned, I went through this rather quickly because I covered a lot of the necessary details in the previous lesson, lesson 1. And also, by the way, too, if you're not familiar with your major scales and every key, then I do have a program you can check out. It's called The Secret 7 Numbers of Successful Piano Playing. There will be a link below. And you can check that out, and that'll teach you how to number the tones and go through all the major scales and all 12 keys, and it even teaches you some, chord progressions and things like that. So anyway, there we have it, the root, 3, 5, and flat 7. So root position for the dominant 7th chord in all 12 keys. Now, what I want to do is let's take those dominant 7th chords. And our second step here is we're going to play a dominant 7th with a flat 5. So just, in case you've come across it before, you may see something, it says C7 flat 5, okay, or C7 sharp 5. Whenever you have that altered 5th and it says C7, that tells you you're playing a dominant 7th chord, okay? So C7 with a flat 5 would look like this in C. This is our regular dominant 7th, right? 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So now if I flat the 5, I'll take the G here and drop it down to G flat. Okay, so that's my C dominant 7th, flat 5. All right, so next key, let's play our F dominant 7th chord. 1, 3, 5, flat 7, so we'll flat the 5, so we'll play C flat here. Okay, or you can call it B if you want. And then the next one, we got B flat. So that's my B flat dominant 7. So if I take a 5 here, flat it, that's my B flat 7, flat 5. Next up, key of E flat. So this is E flat dominant 7th here. Let's flat the 5. So you see these flat 5s have a unique sound to them. Let me just play that again. Okay. Next up, A flat. So this is my A flat dominant 7th here. If I flat the 5, or no, actually that's flat the 3. So flat the 5 is right here. So right here. There we go. Now we are on track. So that's A flat 7, flat 5. Let's go to the D flat. 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So flat the 5. That's my D flat 7 with a flat 5. All right. Let's go to G flat. So 1, 3, 5, flat 7. It's my G flat dominant 7th chord. And what I'll do is I'll flat the 5 right there. That's my G flat 7 with a flat 5. Let's go to the key of B. It's my B dominant 7th chord there. Flat the 5. All right, and that gives me my B7, flat 5. Go to the key of E. E dominant 7th there, flat to 5. Okay, let's go to the key of A. Flat to 5. Key of D. I think I'll go down here. Flat to 5. And we have one more, the key of G. flat the 5. That's my G7 flat 5, and then we're right back at C again. Okay? So that's the dominant 7th chord with the flat 5. Now, let's go ahead and play the dominant 7th chord with the sharp 5. Okay? So again, we start on C. That's my C7 chord. If I take the 5th and raise it up a half step, that gives me my C7 with the sharp 5. Okay? Next up, F7. Sharp to 5, right there. That's F7, sharp 5. All right, next up, B flat. So that's my B flat dominant 7, sharp to 5. Right there. Next up, E flat dominant 7th with the sharp 5. Next up, we got the key of A flat. So A flat dominant 7th with the sharp 5. Then we have the D flat dominant 7th, sharp 5. Then we have the G flat dominant 7th, sharp to 5. Then we have the B dominant 7th, sharp to 5. Then we have the E dominant 7th, sharp to 5. We have the A dominant 7th, sharp to 5. Then we have the D dominant 7th, sharp to 5. Then we have the G dominant 7th, sharp to 5. Then after that, we're back at C, right? All right. So that's the dominant 7th chord with the sharp 5. Now, let's go back to the voicing that we did, the pro voicing we did in lesson number 1. And that was where we were playing 1 and 7 in the left hand, 3 and 5 in the right hand. Okay, except what we're going to do now, instead of playing the major 7th like I'm doing here, is we're going to go through and we're going to play our dominant 7th chords and the variations on them. Okay, now one of the things real quick, before we get into this going into all 12 keys, if you're interested in learning more about chord voicings, make sure, and you're dealing with 7th chords, make sure you take my chord voicings phase 2 program. That's in the description below. And in that program there, we go through a couple of different types of voicings for your dominant 7th chords. We go through all 12 keys, and then we go through different combinations too. So it's much more thorough than we are covering right here. So be sure to check that out. Again, that's the chord voicings phase 2 program. And phase 2 focuses on 7th chords. Okay, all types of 7th chords, major, minor, dominant, half diminished, diminished 7ths, so forth and so on. All right? So anyway, let's get back here. So let's take the key of C. So our C dominant 7th chord with the 1735 voicing is this, right? Because we have the flat 7, 3, 5. All right? So now what about if I want to do the C7 with the flat 5? Our voicing is 1, flat 7, 3, 5. We take the 5 and we flat it. And you see, since the notes are spread out over a further distance on the keys there, it has a much nicer sound. Okay, so this is the C7 flat 5. Now, if I want to play a C dominant 7th sharp 5, we have our C dominant 7th chord again. Take the 5th, raise it up a half. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's play the C dominant 7th, C7 flat 5, C7 sharp 5. All right, go to the key of F. What I'll do for F is I will go down here. So F7 is right there. So we got the flat 7. Okay, how about F7 flat 5? How about F7 sharp 5? Okay, so again, all 3. Okay, key of B flat. We got that flat 7 right there. So B flat 7 is here. B flat 7 flat 5. B flat 7 sharp 5. Key of E flat. E flat 7. E flat 7 flat 5. E flat 7 sharp 5. Okay. Key of A flat. A flat dominant 7 flat 5. A flat 7 sharp 5. Okay, next up we got D flat dominant 7th. D flat 7 flat 5. D flat 7 sharp 5. Next up we got G flat dominant 7th. G flat 7 flat 5. G flat 7 sharp 5. Next up we have B7. So it's B flat 7, B flat dominant 7th, B flat 7 flat 5, B flat 7 sharp 5. Okay, then we have E. So E7, E7 flat 5, E7 sharp 5. Then we have A7, A7 flat 5, A7 sharp 5. Next up we have D7, D7 flat 5, D7 sharp 5. We have G7, G7 flat 5, G7 sharp 5. And after that, we're back at C. All right. So that covers it. All right. And again, if you are interested in getting more into 7th chords, especially learning about all of them, not just the major, minor, and the dominants, but the half diminished 7ths and the diminished 7ths, then make sure you take the course Chord Voicings Phase 2. Phase 2 focuses on the 7th chords. So anyway, that's going to conclude Lesson 2 here in our crash course. And if you're not already taking the crash course, make sure there should be a link for that in the description below also. And you can click on that and that'll take you right over to the crash course. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed today's lessons on the dominant 7th chord and, the alterations, the flat 5 and the sharp 5. And next up, I think we will cover the 9th chords. So we'll get into that in the next lesson. So anyway, thanks again for taking the lesson. Have fun and enjoy.